Okay, for the next section, we're going to be doing the sponsors. Oops, that's the location. Let's see the sponsors. There we go. And you'll see that we've got 6 sponsors, and they are image files and that are representing their sponsorship logos. And then we have it set so that each one of them takes up about 33%. So you'll see that we've got 1, 2, 3. We've got 1, 2. This one's 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3. So it's not exactly. It's actually more like 30. Yeah, it's like 33%. And so it's a little bit odd in the way that these are set up. So it's not really 4 for blink. It's really, if you split the difference here. So I just know that 100% of something is divided by 3 is 33.333 forever percent, right? So that's what we're going to go based off of. And if you look at the way that this is set up, you have all of these things in a parent div that has a flex parent assigned to it with the sponsor info class. And that means that the sponsor info class is going to give us the capability of doing something very specific to the children of this particular class, or at least even if it's not the children, it could be the padding, it could be the placement, and so on. All right. And you'll see that the rest are just kind of floating inside of there. So if we take a look at the HTML, you'll see that that's going to also be true. Let's collapse the location and go to sponsors. And again, what you see is, in fact, that the images are all just sort of sitting in there as siblings, all kind of hanging out as brothers and sisters, right, next to each other in the same room or the same div. And that should not have a space there, right? Let's fix that with the flex P or the flex parent class and sponsor info. So let's come down here where it says sponsors and let's get started. And the first thing that I want to do is let's just give this a background color. For this one, we want to give it a background color of white because some of our images actually have white backgrounds. So we want to make sure that that actually stays white. So we're going to do something for sponsors. And we actually need to spell it correctly. So, all right, we're going to do background color. And we're going to do this as that, actually we're just going to do it as white. Pure white. There we go. So it's a little bit brighter than the other ones have been. So that's the first thing. And then we also want to give everything some padding so that it's not just sitting right up against the edge. So we'll go with the 8% for the top and bottom, like what we've been doing. And we'll do 12% for the left and right. And so now we're in line with these others. So that's all good. And then I think beyond that, we want to go ahead and set the sponsor info in such a way. Actually, before we do that, let's do the sponsor's image. So let's go to sponsors, IMG, so that we can see that the width, we'll set those to 33.333%. And now they all fit. All right, so, but the other thing that I want to do is I want to pad them because we have the box sizing with border box on. It will still work so that they don't get all squished up or overfill their space. So let's give the padding, I don't know, let's try, I guess we could do like for sure 0 on top and bottom, but let's try maybe a couple of percent. Let's start with that, maybe 1 or 2%. That might work, I think, on left and right. And then let's just make sure that we set the height to auto. And the reason for that is because if something ever override it, were to override it in the HTML, like if somebody went and added a width or a height here, then it would, if we didn't give it width and height, it would start to pancake the image. So we're going to go ahead and set this up like that. And you might look at this and go, hey, that's okay. It looks okay. But really, I think what we need is we need a little bit of space, and we need to configure the sponsor info class right here. So let's go and we're going to add dot sponsor dash info as a class. And I think that I want to also give that some padding. So maybe we'll do padding, and we could do, let's just try like maybe a couple of % all the way around. And that just sort of bumps everything in a little bit. It also bumps it a little bit down off of the event sponsors H2. And then I want to align the items. Let's do align items, not content. Let's do align items, and we'll do center so that we can see that. And this is, why is that important? Because there will be a time, and if you don't know this, it's okay. We could have address it again later, but if we do this so that these line up not as, 3 to a row, but instead one basically stacked on top of the other, then align items in the center would be important so that they stayed centered and don't do something wonky, right? Okay, yeah. And so I think that if I wanted to call that done, I could, except that I'm still really not in love with just how close this event sponsors is to this. Now, I had given the sponsor info some padding, but I did it all the way around in a uniform fashion. So maybe I'll give the top and bottom extra padding, like maybe let's try 5%. And I still think I want more. So let's do 10%. And then maybe that's a bit much. Let's try 8. And then I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'll do 2% on the bottom, so that it doesn't add too much. And I think that I'm a little bit happier with the way that has turned out. I don't know, maybe I do want 10%. I can't really make up my mind here. Sorry about this, but maybe 10% is the winning ticket. Or I'm going to split the difference. Okay. But you can see how fussy this, you can see, that's the wrong one. You can see how fussy this can be when you really start to get digging into it. And I think that 9% is actually something that's going to make a little bit more sense to me. And you know what? I think that each of these needs some space around them. So yeah, I think that the event sponsors, they're too close to each other, top and bottom. So I think that the images themselves, let's maybe do padding on the top and bottom. Let's just do 2% maybe all the way around. And then there's a little bit more space around each of these. Let's click off of that maybe. In fact, we can even do the top and bottom padding of that just a little bit more. Or did I lost them again? Okay. Yeah, so let's do top at maybe, let's say 4%. And keep clicking around here. It's driving me nuts. We'll click outside of that so that we can see it a little bit better. And I'll open this up. And I think I'm happier giving the sponsors a little bit more breathing space. And I can always go back and adjust that, but I think that that's probably where I'm a little bit happier with it. Okay, so now I think that we can call the sponsors done. And we'll move on to the footer.